Well, they dropped me off in the middle of this field, and I really don't know what I'm supposed to do, but they gave me a hat. You see, I got a hat, so in the hat's a clue. It says Illinois Soybean Association. We're gonna figure out what happens in the process of growing soybeans, from a seed to final products. And you know, the thousands of final products. I bet you that you use soybeans every day and didn't even know it. But really, I don't know why they asked me, I don't have a clue, but we're gonna learn it together. So stick with me, okay? Really? Very cool. We're talking to Rob Shaffer. He's a farmer, go figure. He's a soybean farmer, and he's coming right behind me. I gotta say hi to Rob here. He's putting the brake on. Must mean he wants to talk to us. This is it. Soybeans. Look at them. They're cool, aren't they? These little things can be turned into more articles and uses than you could ever imagine. We're gonna figure this all out. Rob's gonna help us out. Today we're here with Rob Shaffer, the guy who's farming this ground, and he knows what's going on, contrary to my situation. I'm just kind of here learning like the rest of you. But in the back we've got, like I said, big boys with big toys. So why don't you tell us what you got here?
We got a Case IH front wheel assist, 180 horsepower tractor on the front of this John Deere 7000 planter. The planter was new in 1979. We put a lot of updates on it, but it was new back then. The planter, or the tractor itself, was new in 2008. And so far so good. It's a heated air, got air conditioning. It's even got a heated seat. Got a good radio. Don't have to worry about getting dirty most of the time. So it's pretty nice, especially in all kinds of weather. Okay, Rob, we got the tractor figured out. Now you mentioned this was a John Deere planter. It's a John Deere 7000. It's an 8-row, 30-inch wide planter. It takes 20 foot in a swath. It's got 8 hoppers on it, each 8 individual seed boxes with 8 meters underneath. They're driven by chains. Yeah. Is what drops the actual seed into the furrow. This down here, it would be our furrow disc openers as far as cuts the actual trench. And then this is what presses it down. These back here, we've got a spike closing wheel and a regular wheel, and that's what closes the trench so the dirt gets on top of the seed. And then once the seed gets to moisture, it'll sprout, and then hopefully in about 5 or 7 days, we've got beans above the ground. Yeah, well, what's this thing? This here is a marker. If you could see out in the field, that's how I know where to drive the tractor. It's offset, it's 10 foot wide, so I know exactly where to drive when the GPS doesn't work. Does that happen often? Especially, yes, on days where it's foggy and you can't get a signal, or you forget to turn the planter on, or you forget to turn the satellite on 15 minutes before you're ready to go. Now, wait a minute. You're trying to tell me that you've got GPS, you're satellite guided in this? Yes, sir. Yep. We've upgraded this year to a Trimble 750 monitor and a Case IH computer system. And yes, I can actually have the tractor will actually, after I set what's called an AB line, which means I make a straight line, point A, point B. From then on, I can hit a button once I get on it and it will drive itself. You're kidding. No, sir. No, it's pretty nice. That's crazy. It's pretty nice. Kind of get bored going back and forth on half-mile roads. But you do something else while you're in there. Well, yeah, it's a good thing for texting and the radio, so and checking the grain markets. So. Well, you mentioned when we were talking earlier about this is different. You changed this out from corn to beans. Yep. These hoppers stay the same, but if you're going to corn, we use different meters. This meter here is a Kinsey seed disc meter. It's called a brushless meter or a brush meter. Right here's the hex shaft. This is what drives the chain that actually clamps onto this actually, when I kick and engage, goes onto the meter here, and that spins the meter and drops the seeds. And these chains we replace every year because without these chains, it can screw up the population and that kind of stuff, or make the wrong populations. And then in front, we've got the actual, this is a corn field for the last 2 years. We've got a lot of residue, and those things in the front are what we call trash whippers to get the corn stalks and that kind of stuff out of the way of the disc openers and make a nice clean seed bed. This here is a Kinsey disc meter, okay? And this is what spins this chain, or that hex shaft runs this chain, which that hooks up to this, and that's what turns. And each revolution, you drop 60, for a complete round, you drop 60 beans in the furrow. Okay, Barry, right here's where we control the depth, okay? The farther we go back this way means the deeper that these press wheels are gonna go down. okay? When I move it up, okay, this towards the front, that means the shallower that's gonna go in the ground. Right now I've got it set for about 1.25 inches deep. And so far, so good as far as planting depth. I checked the soil conditions and we're getting that 1.25 inches.
So safety's a big thing, right?
Yes, sir, very much so.
Safety's a big thing, because you always, you know, I've heard, like I said, I'm not a farmer, I'm a city guy, but you always hear about people getting in these horrible farm accidents.
There's a lot of sharp things on a planter, okay? The disc openers, these marker blades, okay, are meant to cut through the soil, so they need to be sharp. And I didn't realize how sharp they were until I actually put this one on myself and I actually cut myself. So safety's a big deal. I've got 2 small kids, one gonna be 6 and another one gonna be 3. And we gotta be real careful as far as hydraulic cylinders. There's lockouts on the hydraulic cylinders when it's raised up. So in case they were get under it, and you have to work on it and that kind of stuff.
So are your children gonna go into farming too?
My sons really like being in the tractor and they like helping around the farm and feeding the cows and that kind of stuff. But I hope to have the opportunity for them to come back and farm if they'd like to. You know, they're being 8 to 3. You don't know what they're going to do.
Right,
you know, but I'd like to have the opportunity for them to come back if they want to.
So you studied this? You studied?
Oh yeah, I went to Illinois State University, got a got a degree in agriculture business and an animal science minor, and I've been farming since I was old enough to carry a bucket.
Well, Rob, they always say in the Midwest that they got we've got the best, most fertile ground in the world. Now, with that in mind, what kind of yield do you expect to get, and what do you really get?
What do we expect to get as far as beans? This farm here doesn't do quite as good on beans. It's been 2 years corn on corn. I'm hoping my goal would be to get 60 bushel plus. This year we spent a lot of money on our seed. We put optimized seed coating on the bean. It's clear, you can't see it, but it's supposed to help the bean grow and get better roots established.
Really?
And that's just an extra seed treatment they put on before we dump it on and before they even make it red.
Why is it red? Why is the seed red?
We've got green beans and red beans, okay? And actually these are, they're just the colors of the beans, or the different, and the reason they're red and green is because the seed treatments that each company uses is different. The red ones are Asgrow beans by Monsanto, and then the green ones are Pioneer beans. And that's just the different kind of seed treatments that they use to help the plant grow better. It'll fight off bugs a little better. And then the big thing we have problems here in this, in certain years are aphids, and that should help with the aphids quite a bit.
Do you have favorite varieties? You buy different varieties and test them out? I've seen, you know, driving down the highway, I've seen like test plots of corn with different signs. Do you do that with beans?
Yes, they do the same. They don't test plots of beans. What we're planting today is Asgrow. Half the field will be Asgrow, the other half will be Pioneer. They'll both be within the same maturity ranges, so it's apples to apples, and they've both varieties have been treated with the same stuff, so it's not one gets one and one doesn't. So when I do the trials with the combine, I know that they were apples to apples.
Okay. What about weeds? I mean, you got to have lots of weeds that just kind of volunteer and shoot up. How do you kind of control that? Part
of the reason whether you don't see any weeds now is because I ran over this field with a soil finisher, which a soil finisher has discs in the front and then field cultivator blades and then a harrow on the back. We have not got our burn down on yet, but we'll come back with Roundup and any other chemical that we need to keep the weeds down so the beans are just out here, because any weed can sap moisture, nutrients, and everything else and hurt yield.
Burn down, burn down. You got me with that one. What's burn down?
Burn down is what we call when you come in with, if you've got a weedy field and you come in and you put the chemical on, and then in about a week, it looks like you burnt the field. All the weeds are dead, and that's how God's nickname is burn down.
Right before you plant?
You can do it. If we use 2,4-D and Roundup together, we got to wait about 4 days before we can come in and plant. The Roundup, you can plant the same day.
Okay, now we got some background information, but what I want to know is how this little thing right here, this little thing gets into the ground. Rob, you ready to show us? Ready to get to work?
Yep,
let's do this.
Okay, let's check our seed box.
All right.
We're checking the seed box, make sure that we got seed beans in the hoppers before we take off.
Right.
Okay, because you got to have beans to drop in the seed tunnel.
I guess.
And then we're going to go ahead and drop some graphite on top, so the beans, graphite helps the beans flow through the meter evenly and doesn't get them to gum up and that kind of stuff. So we're going to try that.
Hey guys, it's official, I'm a farmer. This is cool. I got the hat, I got the graphite, we got the beans. We are doing this, we are planting. I'm loving it. Okay, we started out with a little seeds. We aren't even anywhere near the final product yet. And already, we're involved in more stuff than I can keep track of. This is tricky. This takes a lot of skill, a lot of work, a lot of study, and a lot of love for this land. I think that's pretty cool. let's continue on, figure out what's next.
Okay, all right, let's get planting. We'll close the lids and get in the tractor.
This is cool. All right, Rob, so we're up here in the cab of this huge red tractor, and there's just, I mean, there's stuff everywhere you look. What's that thing?
That is our monitor that, as far as the planter monitor.
Yeah.
And this tells us when each row is either dropping seeds or not dropping seeds. When this light goes off and you're at speed, you know that it's dropping the right number of soybean seeds into the furrow. When this comes on, either you got a box empty, or you got a chain came off. There's a lot of problems, or a lot of things that could happen that you have to troubleshoot to get that back to where that light is off again.
So this is your glitchometer.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
It's another yep catch.
All right. Now this is the next thing that catches my attention. What in the heck is this thing?
This here is a Trimble 750 monitor and also auto steer box. It tells us as far as there's a light bar on top. When these green lines are on this line right here, means you're dead on. If you're off to the either side, means you're off either right or left. And this will also tell you, record as far as your passes, how many passes you've got to go in a field. If you missed one, you can skip and come back. We can program by field. It runs off a GPS, and once I pull into a field and I have that field saved, it automatically brings it up, and I can record the days I planted, the times I didn't plant, or if I change varieties, I can punch all that in here.
Wow. You mentioned that you said something that caught my attention. He said auto steer. Is this a robot? Is this gonna like do a transformer thing on us? What?
It's actually, this also controls what's called an easy steer. And this actually drives the steering wheel and keeps it on the GPS heading.
No way.
We got a little satellite dish on top of the cab that finds the satellite, and then right now we've got perfect signal. We got all 5 bars, just like on your cell phone. And then it tells you how close we are to where we're supposed to be.
1 foot, 0.08 inches off.
Yep, so
1 foot 8 inches off.
Currently 20 inches off, but I'll get that lined up before we start planting.
I'll tell you what. What next? What next? They're gonna have robot farmers?
Well, they've got robot tractors right now. They do in orchards.
No way, really? Now, what happened like last week? I know you got rained out last week. What happens in a case like that?
We got, on this field's an 80-acre field. We got all but 10 acres worked before the rain came on Friday night. And it saved it exact passes. It saved it, and when I turned it back on a week later, it knew the exact pass where I finished, and asked me, do I want to start back on that, and it kept the exact same grid or pattern that I had before.
High-tech farming.
All right, you ready to do this? Let's plant some beans.
You ready to look inside the earth? Right here. Check them out. There they are. He said he checks the population. What was that term again, population?
Our goal is to get 160,000 per acre.
160,000
seeds per acre.
Seeds per acre.
And a good rule of thumb is if I've got 10 and 1 foot, which my foot's 12 is a size 12. That's how I check and see and make sure that there's 10 of these red dots, which each one's a seed.
Right.
And I try to make sure that there's 10 in each foot, and then I know that the population, the chains, the sprockets, and everything is working the way it's supposed to.
Well, riding along in that tractor, I was looking at that GPS thing, and I was thinking to myself, you know, this tractor's a lot of money, this planter's a lot of money, and this GPS, what does something like that cost, Rob?
The GPS system cost us $7,500.
Well, why would you bother spending that money?
Several applications. Reason why is our number one, we're trying to lower inputs. As far as we're trying to not put down too much seed and overlap too much, not waste diesel fuel as far as working with our overlapping with our tillage equipment.
Now, that'll keep it straight enough and won't let you vary off the line. You need to, okay.
The other thing is we're trying to lower our carbon footprint as far as the amount of diesel fuel we use and go from there. Yeah, well, we've only got one planet. We might as well take care of it, right? And he's trying to help out and still grow soybeans, to do all of this stuff that's coming up. Well, Rob just told me that he's out of seed. He's out of seed. He ran out of seed. 160,000 seeds per acre, and he ran out of seed. You know, that happens. Makes me wonder, now what? We'll be back in a little while. We'll come back during the middle of the growing season, and we'll give you a little bit more idea how this all works. Thanks a lot. See you later.